Welcome everyone to another session. We have got Mahboobeh here, a dear friend of mine. She is our hot seat guest for this month. Looking forward to
Thank
talking
you
to
so
you.
much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. It's really important for us to be able to talk to each other and sort of check in. How are we doing? Quite often we tend to only hear about people who are at the top of their game. They have reached it. Everyone wants to interview them. We hear about their success, but I think it's equally important to know about the process. How do we get there? How do we carry on? So can I ask you to start by introducing yourself first, please?
Yes. So my name is Mahboobeh Rajabi. I'm an Iranian artist, and I'm a digital artist, filmmaker, theatre maker, writer, and creative producer.
I have known you for a number of years now, and the very first thing that when I hear your name comes to my mind is someone very energetic, very active, and very successful. So what's your secret? How do you manage that?
The first thing that I have to say, I'm really lucky to have really inspiring people around me. I think that what always motivates me. I am always surrounded by strong people who they are also like role models to me. So when I always look at these people, and even I have to say you're one of them. So I really love just the friends and artists who are around me, and I'm feeling really lucky and privileged to kind of to be in a city. I think Manchester is also being really diverse. So I'm really lucky to being in such diverse city, and just being connected to the amazing creative aspect of this wonderful city.
How do you think being in Manchester has affected you and your work, basically?
I think Manchester is a city that really helped me to shape myself to feel that this is my city, especially like with a forced migration background. I just feel like I didn't know how even I would be able to pursue art. I knew that I want to be a theater director. Like I just had like as a teenager, as a young person who had a vision. But then I came to the city and I didn't know like even I would be able to pursue the art. And then I've met amazing people, amazing organizations, people who really value and support. And I think who am I now? I've learned from them because they supported me in my journey, in my process. And then I've realized how important is sort of this circle of support in order to make something happen. So I'm also continuing on that and that's a sort of a huge aspect of my work.
I think, yeah, it's something very special about Manchester, amazing cosmopolitan city. So it's reassuring to hear things like that. There are so many art organizations around the country and also in Manchester. So it's very important when they support all diverse artists like yourself. It's causing something to go back into the system that is different, if you like. So it's like a circle that completes. So Manchester is a city that I feel I belong to as well. And it's interesting, you come from a different background, you always have that part in you. So I come from Iran, and that is also part of me and is never separate from me. But it is a love, you expand and you embrace two cultures. And
exactly, yeah. I think, what is really interesting point that you make regarding sort of feeling belonging. I think it's really important that you kind of have that feeling, because I always think about the word hometown. Like I used to struggle always to kind of mention that my hometown is Shiraz. I'm from Shiraz, so that's my hometown. And then when I came into the point, I can tell you that 7-8 years ago, I was confident to say that you know what, now that I moved, I can say Manchester is my hometown. The amount of memories, the amount especially like through art and creativity, performing in different part of the city, like doing different creative experiences with the people of this city, the community of this city. I think 130 something or 40 something languages is spoken in Manchester, which is phenomenal.
I know. I read somewhere over 200 dialects.
It's a big number.
Yeah. It's amazing. And at the end of the day, they say most of the communication is non-verbal. So when you mix everything together, and you know that we could all communicate irrespective of what language we speak, and it's amazing. It's all this trying to communicate, making yourself understood, and trying to understand others, I think makes a better person. And arts is such a fantastic medium for letting this develop, this sort of expanding and growing, and make it possible. So it's, we are all so grateful for art, and obviously for artists like yourself. You do quite a lot of original and quite new concept in art. And I know I've been, well, I know, I have worked with you in one of the concepts that you had, co-creation, and it's still for me a new concept. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that? How does that work?
Sure. So with my experience as an artist with different organizations across Greater Manchester and also working internationally, came into kind of, and then I get to know about co-creation and sharing leadership methodology when I was doing one of my international work with European Cultural Foundation in tandem projects, and specifically working with Barokalite, which is the national organization in Netherlands who work with refugees and bring sort of art, just and connect artists to refugee camps. When I've kind of started to know about the concept, I've kind of realized the connection that I have with the concept that I didn't know. So co-creation is something that, if you look at the community works, this is the concept that everybody uses. It doesn't have a manual. Co-creation is a progress, is something that allow you to sort of come together and make something, but it doesn't follow a structure. So that's the thing that is basically what I've did was actually we founded the collective called Deepak, which you were one of the artists, for focusing our artist leadership, diverse artist leadership, and allowing artists to develop their practice. So what I've identified was like emerging artists or artists who come from another country to the UK. They don't necessarily have the time to exploration. And my sister is a scientist, and I found it really fascinating that like scientists or physicians, and you also you're a doctor yourself from the pharmaceutical background, so you know that you have lab and things to kind of test and explore. And I was thinking, what about artists? Like we always make something. What we make is not physical. It goes through a process, and we all the time use innovation through our mind when we come up with the idea. And I thought, how we capture that? So I decided to kind of be focused on the artists, and since 2016 I developed this collective to focus on artist practice through co-creation and the very different layers. So what the co-creation allows me to kind of also look at the different layers of how we need to establish it. And currently it's going to be a creative social enterprise in a cafe format. It's really exciting. It goes through the process of establishment this year.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's about creation. You don't have that physical thing. It's not science that you end up with something that you could measure. It's a melting point and everything, but it's certainly a creation. You start from nothing and you end up with it could be a painting, it could be a writing, could be a poem, I don't know, all sorts of things. So it's an amazing process, and it's the process that is important, not just the the final product. I know we all say that, but we all very much outcome orientated in many aspects that we do, in terms of measuring our success, for example, in terms of things that I could put on my CV. I could say, I've done this. But yeah, you're right. What about the process that you have come through?
Exactly,
you might not have anything to show for it as a physical outcome, but it's certainly every process, every art project that you're involved in, every creation does something to you and takes you to a higher level of thinking, of seeing, and I absolutely love the experience. So it is amazing. I just wish you success with all you do, because you keep on bringing new stuff in, and also supporting others to come along beside you, and
Thank you. Yeah, I really, that's what I love about co-creation, sharing leadership. One of the things that I really believe in my life is that everyone has a leadership potential. Everyone have that aspect, and the people kind of being into position, they can bring the whole in, not like necessarily, for example, if I'm an like digital artist, I just do a little bit, okay, what is the digital community? What do you want me to do? And then that's it, and then goes to but when you bring the mindset through sort of the group to, you might be a musician, but you can share your expression in any aspect of art. It doesn't mean that you're the musician and you have to just all talk about that little aspect. And I think that what is lost within the artist practice, because artists goes through different layers of thinking and methods, the way that they come up with that kind of, and it all has a message, and it's very inspirational. And I always believe that message, when an audience come and see the piece, is also, there is always that message of the process with every piece of work that an artist do.
Yeah, it's amazing that to be able to have that connection with the audience and get some feedback, honest feedback from the audience is amazing. But also it depends on the platforms that are available for you to share your whatever it is that we are talking about, whether it's something that you have drawn or written something, or is a dress that you have designed. You need platforms to be able to share that, and in a way social media gives you that space, but also it takes away quite a lot of your time, because being on social media requires you investing quite a lot of time promoting yourself, seeing what else is available to you, who else is out there, making connections, and all this takes you away from what you meant to be doing. So it could be a double-edged sword in a way, but nevertheless, for quite a number of us, perhaps the only platform available for sharing, and it's a good thing overall. All of us, Mahboobeh, we go through difficult times in our life, and we need something to anchor ourselves on, and we need something to pull ourselves up, if you like, from time to time. So how does what works for you when you hit difficult time, both in terms of you as an artist and you as a person?
So I can say that I think the way that I used to deal with things is in two parts now. One of them is when before I become a mom, and then the other one is after I became a mom. I used art, dancing, my work as a healing as well. So I've kind of I always I remember that when I used to feel so down, I used to go to Manchester Art Gallery.
All right.
And I used to sit down like 1 or 2 hours, and I used to kind of shift my attention from what would you really kind of worry me or put me down into the paintings and arts. And it was very inspirational for me. And I used to take my notes and I used to write poetry. on the expression. I would have, for example, seen, and that would take my sort of attention from the pressure that I was dealing with. And I used to go to a cafe, and I'm a coffee person, so I used to kind of get a nice cup of coffee to remind myself that you've got it. And I come from a fighter background, I have to say. I think being from Iran, I'm from that sort of generation of always fighting, and I really believe that, you know, just you have to sort of have that voice. And I'm really proud of my Persian culture, because my culture, and especially the literature, I'm from Shiraz, the poetry of Sadi, Hafiz, Rumi kind of shaped me, and it was all about resilience. So I think that resilience in me kind of helped me, that I grasped to poetry and art in order to calm down. And then when I become a mom, as a woman, to kind of experience motherhood, it actually made me stronger, because the way that I'm dealing with when I'm down is very different, because I'm not the kind of the young-headed, like 24, 25 years old person that kind of, whenever she wants, she can go to the art gallery. I've got a toddler, and actually he teach me like how to cope, which is really interesting, that how we learn through motherhood. So it's been the time that I've learned from my toddler that kind of, sometimes you just have to be silly. So sometimes, we kind of find the most silly thing to laugh about. And it reminds us that just don't take life too seriously. That would drain us. I think that's the most important sort of also quote, that it shall pass. I think that's really strong. There is a quote that kept me going, which there is a book called it's The Boy and the Horse. I forgot the full title of the book, but I know this quote of it, that this boy is walking with the horse through the jungle, and the boy is scared, turns to the horse and say that I'm really scared, it's really dark. And the horse is saying, can you see your next step? And he says yes, and said, that's what you need. Like, we all have to remember that it's always about, if you can see your next step, just be easy on yourself. What I've learned, I think, during the past few years is also how to be easy on myself, and how to put time to slow things down. And again, like a big part of me was when I became a mom, and I realized I cherish every second, every moment to spend with my child, my family, because these are the moments that are kind of really, you know, just going. So he's growing so fast, and I'm kind of try to have myself to enjoy the moment.
That's brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing. Motherhood is a whole new game. Very good. And as you said, you learn a lot. Yeah. And it's a process of growing and learning, which happens hand in hand, and is amazing. You see your how your baby changes by time, you know, the first step that they take, and then they become quite confident in walking, and then they manage to run. How, you know, it's so it is like a miracle on its own, you know. All this
it is a huge, it is a total miracle that, you know, just what would happen. And I think also what I found, because of an artist and working and being a mom and being a freelancer, the challenges, honestly, that a mother and a woman go through is just a lot. And I think about all the working moms, like, you know, just the amount of stress and pressures that are there. It kind of really goes back to the question of how we deal with it. To be honest, it's a lot, you know, just scheduling work, you know, just with sort of family time. It's different levels. It has different levels to it, that a woman feels like, you know, just we have to do it all, but sometimes we just have to remind ourselves that we need that time, which is impossible for a mom. If you've got a baby, if you just got a baby, if you've got under 1, under 2, under 3, and 4, you just children, it's just like hard to organize everything. But I think it's so important to have that space, even, you know, just to look after ourselves. And that's also an aspect of my work, because a huge part of my work is about women and women's rights. So and since I become a mom, it's kind of became really powerful, and I witnessed it and I lived it. So yeah, I could I can say that I more understand it.
Yeah, and also I think children make you prioritize better. You get your priority and your value system in the right order, which sometimes we all need to do. Okay, that's fantastic. You mentioned the phrase "this will pass too." So many of my guests, including myself, we mentioned this phrase "this will pass," but also it's difficult to, when you are in that situation, all this, and this will pass too, but in that moment when you are in that atmosphere, it's so difficult. The book that you said that can you see your next step is so powerful, and I'm just thinking it's so brilliant. That's all we need sometimes, but it might be, we sometimes feel insecure and we think, oh, I need to know more. Well, what is next? What's going to be again the outcome of this at the end of the day? And it is not easy to change our mind and the way that we think. But I think sessions like that and talks like that helps. We can step by step start to think what needs changing in our lives and work on it. So thank you for sharing that. And now that we are talking about books, is there any particular book that you would like to mention that has had some effect, some lasting effect on you, whether in Persian or English? Anything that you would like to share? We are here to.
I think I cannot mention only one because I have like 3 or 4 to mention. So one of the first books that really has an impact on me, it was when I was like about 11 or 12. My sister got me a book, which I forgot the actual title, but it was about the magical story about making terme, which is like a very traditional Persian rug from Kerman. So it was this magical girls who kind of came together and make this terme. And that is story, because I had a huge imagination. So I think that a story helped me to not underestimate my imagination. Going through those little girls, they wanted to make that term finished. And a story that how they've done it, and they've managed to kind of, because it's a hand making, so Persian carpet and Persian it's a lot of work to make those patterns. So making that term happen was something that really helped me to kind of think about the challenges that you go through shouldn't make you to give up. I think that was a big impact of that book. And then book of Hafiz, the poetry of Hafiz and Rumi, it had a huge impact of my life. And the English one, I can say that I've just I've read a book called Before I Go to Sleep with S.J. Watson. And as a writer, the power of words and a story kind of confirmed in that book for me, that how I think I finished that book a few days, and then I've recommended to another friend. Everybody was telling, what did you do to us? Like it's by S.J. Watson. And then I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. I think and I was in the same age, just that age when they sort of, they were wizard of Hogwarts. So I always reference like Harry Potter and then Lord of the Rings and all these sort of fantasy books, because of my huge imagination. I have just that sort of brain. So these books had a sort of huge impact on me, kind of being believing in my imagination. I can say like the more recent authors like S.J. Watson showed me the power of writing. And it turned into a film, but just the way that words can like change you, it's really amazing for me. So I always make sure that I'm a book person, so I always been a member of libraries. I'm just reading books, and I'm still just continuing that.
Yeah, of course, books, such an amazing gift for everyone, for humanity, basically. So Mahboobeh John, what's in store for you? What's next for our Mahboobeh?
Okay, so What's currently happening is just, I think, the three big part of my life is currently I'm developing Made in Persia, which is basically the story of basically the story of me is basically the position of women and the feminism, the history of feminism in Iran. We're gonna follow up on that in next year with the big production, theater production towards 2023. Establishing, just Deepak, which is going to be sort of a creative social enterprise in a very unique cafe film format, which a lot of innovation and new methodologies within that would kind of be, which is really exciting. But I'm taking this year sort of a good timing to establish that. And I'm also I'm working with Community Art Northwest as a creative producer on a part-time basis, and I'm leading on a women project in Rochdale, which is really exciting. So basically that's my current work, and I'm hoping basically as an artist I'm always developing little digital art, like I'm doing digital art with Liam, my son, which is kind of represent the childhood and the kind of connection. It's kind of like for me also a bridge to connect to his childhood. And I'm continuing my digital art. I think creating visuals, little films and things is still something that I'm doing like in a regular basis, because especially like that art and sort of visual art and theater, it's like a big part of me. So yeah.
Thank you. All that remains for me to say is to thank you for taking part in this talk and sharing your experience and your passion and your ideas with us. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we say goodbye?
No, I just want to say thank you to you. I think your work and you yourself also been really inspirational for me, and I always sort of been honored, just to work with you. And also thank you for inviting me, and thank you for involving me to this amazing job of work that you're doing. I'm incredibly honored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is our honor to have you here. And thank you very much to everyone who will watch this video when it goes online.